Coliseum thunders to life once again as gladiators will shine bright under the lights. This is no casual Saturday night drive-by. It's bumper-to-bumper action with no room for error and no place to hide. 16 of those gladiators are still dreaming of continuing their pathway to Phoenix, but for 4 men, those bright lights will be extinguished on their hopes of continuing to chase for a championship. This is not just a race, it's Bristol, baby, and it's also the final race of the round of 16 in the 2025 NASCAR playoffs. It's the Bass Pro Shops night race at Bristol from the Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee. And today's episode of MDK Race Day is presented by COOFANDY. It is going to be a crisp, cool night here in Bristol, Tennessee. Temperature going to be in the high 50s to low 60s, which could be very critical into seeing if these tires will wear or not during this race here tonight. We got a very low chance of rain, so we don't got to worry about that. High humidity, 79%, with a slight wind east-southeast through the racetrack at 5 miles per hour. Welcome everyone back to episode of MDK Race Day. My name is Jed. Hope you're having a wonderful day as we prepare for elimination racing here under the lights at the world's fastest half mile. But before I get into that, let's get into today's sponsor, which of course, once again, by the people at COOFANDY. They've been a long-time sponsor for this channel for a few months now, and to get ready for their fall collection, the people at COOFANDY gave me a couple of items to show off. Some very nice, cool gear. Again, once again, COOFANDY is a place to be if you want some very cool, very affordable, and stylish gear that makes you look good and keep your wallet happy. I got this nice, cool jacket. On top of that, they also sent me a navy blue hoodie to keep me warm during the fall months. Hey, Charlotte in the fall, it gets kind of cool here. I'm not used to that back in South Florida, so this is a welcome gift for the people at COOFANDY. Top of that, because they are sponsoring Joe Gibbs Racing and the number 20 car of Christopher Bell, they also gave me a hat to go along with this shirt. It's a simple but very stylish hat in my opinion. They hooked your boy up, and I'll be honest, I hate to put myself up there, but I think I look pretty good. At least they helped me look very good coming up for the fall months. If you want that plus hundreds of items to choose from in order to make yourself look good and, like I said, keep your wallet happy, head over to COOFANDY.com, and whatever you buy, make sure you go to the checkout and use code JET25 for 25% off your next purchase. And a huge thanks to COOFANDY once again for sponsoring today's episode. Alright, so now let's get into the show. So last Sunday at St. Louis, Denny Hamlin took home the checker flag for his 5th win of 2025 and the 59th win of his Cup career. And because of that, him and his teammate, JJR team I should add, Chase Briscoe, have locked themselves into the round of 12. They're the only ones that are safe for a fact. However, there are 2 other drivers that can breathe a sigh of relief. Kyle Larson at plus 60, he just needs 8 points in order to advance to the round of 12, so he's all but locked in. Bubba Wallace, he needs 18 points. He is relatively safe. He starts in the top 10 tonight, so the 5 and the 23, they can also breathe a sigh of relief. Ryan Blaney at plus 42, Byron at 39, and Reddick at 37, with Christopher Bell at plus 32. Chase Elliott, a much needed good run for him last Sunday at St. Louis, gives him a 28-point advantage. Joe Logano, he could be in some murky waters. He's only 21 points above the cut line, but is starting pretty deep in the pack. Ross Chastain at plus 19. Austin Cindric holds the final spot over the other Austin, and that is Dylan, 11 points between the two. Shane Van Gisbergen minus 15, Alex Bowman minus 35, and Josh Berry with 2 crashes in the first 2 races of the playoffs. He sits last, minus 45. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR, proud sponsor of the Busch Light Pole Award, given to the fastest driver at each NASCAR Cup Series event. Busch Light congratulates AJ Allmendinger for his 5th career Cup Series pole and his 479th career start. Listen to this. It's his first pole at Bristol, but it's his first pole in the NASCAR Cup Series in 10 years since Watkins Glen, 225 starts since Watkins Glen in 2015, and the last time he won the pole on an oval, you have to go all the way back to 2012 in Kansas. 13 years. It's insanity. It's been a long time since we've seen Allmendinger up in the front row. He wins pole with a speed of 126.930 miles per hour, and since 2020, Busch Beer has invested more than $50 million to become a premier sponsor of the NASCAR Cup Series. So here's a look at the starting lineup for the 2025 Bass Pro Shops night race at Bristol. For the first time to open the 2025 NASCAR playoffs, the pole sitter is not a playoff driver. Like I said, AJ Allmendinger took the pole, but to his outside is a playoff driver in the number 12 of Ryan Blaney. Row 2 sits Blaney's teammate Austin Cindric, who needs a really good run if he wants to hold on to that final playoff spot. He sits alongside Ty Gibbs, who has a pretty good record here at Bristol in the 54 ride. Row 3 has the last two Bristol winners, Kyle Larson in the 5 and Denny Hamlin, last week's winner, in the 11. Row 4 has William Byron, the number 24 car, and Bubba Wallace, who's been the dark horse in the playoff field here today. Another great run for him, qualifying in the 8th position. With round of the top 10 is Christopher Bell and Josh Berry. Could he have a walk-off run and win this race to lock himself in around the 12th? He starts in the top 10 here today. Also has a really good record here at Bristol. He knows how to run well here at that world's fastest half mile. Another driver that knows how to run well here is Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the number 47 ride. He starts alongside Carson Hocevar in the 77. Row 7 has Ross Chastain in the 1 and Tyler Reddick in the 45. Row 8, Alex Bowman, finally, he's not the last playoff driver to start this race here in the playoffs. He starts alongside his Hendrick Motorsports teammate, Chase Elliott. Row 9 has Justin Haley in the 7 and Brad Keselowski, the 2011 night race winner here at Bristol, in the 6. And round out the top 10 is John Hunter Nemechek and Ryan Preece in the 60. Row 11 has Chris Busch in the 17 and Joey Logano starting in the 21st position. He won here at the Bristol Night Race back in 2015. Row 12 has Austin Dillon in the 3 and Zane Smith in the 38. Lucky row number 13, Michael McDowell, the number 71 car, starts alongside Cole Custer in the 41. Eric Jones starts alongside rookie Shane Van Gisbergen in the 88. He needs to have a really strong run if he wants to advance into the round of 12. And round of the top 30 is Riley Herbst in the 35 and Noah Gragson in the 4. Row 16, shocking. The first 2 rounds of the playoffs, Chase Briscoe was 3rd or better. He qualified. This time he starts 31st. Absolutely shocking qualifying result for him. Another shocking qualifying result is Kyle Busch, who has the most wins at Bristol among all active drivers. He starts 32nd. Shocking qualifying results for those 2 drivers. Row 17 has Austin Hill alongside Cody Ware. Daniel Suarez makes up row number 18 with Todd Gillen. Ty Dillon in the 10 car starts alongside Corey Heim back again with 2311 Racing in the 67 ride, with Chad Fincham rounding out the 39 car lineup. Here's a look at the odds to win here at the Bristol Night Race. It's kind of surprising to see Kyle Larson at plus 275, although it shouldn't be surprising since he is the defending winner when we were last time racing here at Bristol and last fall, I should remind. Ryan Blaney right behind him at plus 350, Denny Hamlin at 450, then a large drop to Bell at 1,000, Byron, Elliott, and Briscoe at 1,200, Gibbs at 1,400, the highest among the playoff drivers, Bubba Wallace at 1,800, with Brad Keselowski and Austin Cindric both sitting at 2,000 alongside Alex Bowman. Joe Logano at 2,200. The pole sitter, Allmendinger. Hell, who knows what could happen at Bristol. It's going to be all about track position. Allmendinger sits at 2,500. Reddick and Chastain and Kyle Busch at 3,000. Josh Berry at 3,500 alongside Chris Buescher. And Carson Hocevar at plus 4,000. And now it's time to make the call. Every week on my YouTube discussion board, I make a post asking you guys, what do you think will happen in tonight's race? There was a lot of talk about playoff drivers, who could be eliminated. There was a lot of things floating around about Logano could be knocked out, Austin Dillon could be knocked out, Bowman could be knocked out. But there was 4 that I thought were pretty interesting that we're going to go over. So the first one comes from Jake Bynum88. Sorry if I mispronounced your last name there, Jake. But he said Berry will shock the playoff field by winning at Bristol. Now, like I said, Berry, he has a pretty good record. He knows how to run well here at Bristol. Led some laps, I believe, in 2024 when he drove for Stewart Haas Racing, was up front for a little bit. He is starting in 10th. I would like to think that, but I just feel like it's going to be too tough. I think the best that Berry can do is have a good run tonight. I think he can finish in the top 10. I think he can do that. But I think it'll be extremely difficult for him to win. I just can't see that happening without the help of other drivers having mistakes. J Stop Motion 2024, he says, I say JGR sweeps the races in the round of 16 with Denny Hamlin or Christopher Bell completing the sweep and winning the race. I mean, that wouldn't be shocking. Denny Hamlin won here back in 2023 in the fall, so he has very recent success at Bristol in this car, and also won in 2024 at Bristol in the spring event. So again, very recent success Denny Hamlin has here at Bristol, so it would not shock me at all. And that 11 car has just been money on a huge run, huge wave of momentum, starting in the 6th position, which with how this race may go, you're going to have to be a front runner. Would not surprise me at all to see Denny Hamlin win this race. As for Christopher Bell has been off. We've seen as of late that 20 car has speed. They just have not been able to execute properly to get that 20 car out ahead of the field. Last weekend at Gateway, we saw how furious Christopher Bell was because he finished 7th, yet probably had the best car. And I would argue he could at the very bare minimum contend with Denny Hamlin for the race win if things just worked out in his favor. Joshua 8824 Racing says, if this turns out to be a typical next-gen race, then surely this will be the final straw. I don't know what you mean by the final straw. If this is your last time watching NASCAR, I don't know what that means. But yeah, all eyes are on Goodyear. This will be very critical as to how this race will go with this new right rear tire. We'll get into the storylines because that is the main storyline we're going to be talking about. And it kind of leads into the last make the call comment we're going to take a look at. From Not Matty DYT, he says the race won't be as exciting as people or Denny said it would be. The tire won't make a difference and it will just be like the last 2 races. And yeah, like I said, that's going to be the storyline. Is this new right rear tire going to work? Is this going to do anything? The thing is, we know, at least with the next gen car, these Goodyear tires are super sensitive to temperature. We saw this earlier this year in 2025 at Bristol during practice and qualifying, where it was very cool conditions and the tire was cording. The amount of tire changes that teams and pit crews had to do during that practice session was insane. It was like a repeat of what we saw in 2024. However, when the race began, it was a lot warmer temperature and the tire made it the entire night. Interesting temperature here tonight. Tonight is going to be, like I said, high 50s, low 70s. That's what it's going to be, around that range. Very similar to the temperature where it was in 2024 in the spring event. In the fall of 2024, it was around 80s or so degrees. And it was awful, that race was. That NASCAR and Goodyear didn't change anything. The tire that they ran in the 2024 spring race was the same that they ran in the fall race. The difference was the temperature. In 2025, tonight, the temperature is going to be around the same under race conditions as it was in the spring. There is going to be another key difference, is that we're racing under the lights also. So the track will be cooler regardless than it would have been during the daytime. It could be one of 2 ways, because what we saw in practice yesterday in the sunlight, Justin Haley ran a 75 lap run on one set of tires. Nothing happened. Nothing changed. It was like barely a difference. We'll see how it takes place tonight. We will know in the first 20 or so laps whether or not there is a switch, whether or not there is a change. And we know that whether or not that weather and temperature plays a very key critical role on determining whether or not we're going to get a good race or not. I think with it being cool tonight, I think it's going to help a lot. If it was like high 70s, low 80s, forget about it. You know you're going to have a bad race. But cool conditions, high 50s, low 60s. Who knows? Who knows what could happen here tonight? It could either be a bad race or we could see a very fun race, to say the least. But one thing, though, that has not changed is the running positions of the race winners. In the last 3 Bristol races, the winning driver came from the 2nd or the 3rd position. Another thing that is the same is that so far, since 2023, there was only been 2 winners at Bristol. Larson and Hamlin. Hamlin won the spring of 2024, Larson won the fall of 2024, and Hamlin won the fall of 2023. So those 2 drivers are going to be the ones you got to watch, and they both start on the 3rd row. So that is going to be very, very interesting to see, is that can anybody stop the 11 and the 5 car? Now, because I do feel like, and I'm taking a gamble here, I'm gambling that this race is going to be boring in a sense. I'm going to bet on this race where it's all about track position, staying up front, tires are not going to wear, just don't fall behind on pit strategy. That's what I'm going with. So because of that, my driver lineup are drivers that are all starting relatively up front. So I got Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, Austin Cindric, his teammate, Bubba Wallace, because he's just been also money since the playoffs began, and Ross Chastain. Now I got Kyle Larson in my garage once again. They all are starting relatively up front because I feel like this is going to be a race all about track position where tires are not going to wear as much. I'm betting on that. I could be completely wrong about this, but I'm betting that's not going to wear as much. And I feel it's just going to be a race about who can stay up front, who can just not make mistakes. And the driver that I have winning from that race is the second driver from my Fantasy Live lineup, and I got Ryan Blaney starting in second place. Listen, he was second fastest at the second fastest lap time of practice and was fastest in the 10, 20 lap, and I believe 25 and even 30 lap average. He was the fastest. Again, like I said, I'm banking on this race having to do all about track position, having these tires last for a tremendously long time. That means probably there's going to be very little cautions, and this is going to be a race on the long run. And who is the best driver in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2025 on the long run? It's always been that 12 car. So because of that, I got Ryan Blaney winning at Bristol here tonight. But what are your thoughts on this race? What do you think could happen? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Until next time, my name is Jet from MBK. Thanks for watching.